policies we have. I'll just go ahead and kick it over to you, Dr. Perrin, if you want to go ahead and get started. I know.
Yeah, sure thing. Policy 317, that was one that we're looking to, to retire because all the information is contained in 317.1. And that's my understanding, correct, Jane?
Yes, yes. Tim said everything is in 317.1, so the 317 we don't need anymore. So we will just retire that, and that just goes on, I guess, as an information item.
Yeah, it would go on as information at the next board meeting that's being retired.
Hi, folks. Hi, it's Kathleen. Hi, hello.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi. So I'm going to have a request. Of course, I didn't actually look at the agenda before. I'd already looked at all the policies. I'll know to do that next time because I had some comments on this policy. But what would be so helpful, and I totally understand how busy everybody is, but if we could get these agendas and the policies earlier than the day before, I had to really kind of squeeze in the time yesterday to look at these. So it's just my request to please try to get these to us before the day before. And I will make a note to look at the agenda before I look at the policies. Thank you.
Sure, we'll do our best. The second one, there were no changes. The update's just the date of looking it over, Jane.
Yes, yeah, Jeff and Andrew both looked at that, and right, Andrew and Jeff said that it was all fine.
Yes, that is correct.
So we would just change the reviewed on date. That
Right.
wouldn't require any board action, correct?
Probably not, because it wasn't really revised. It was, the date was just changed, so I wouldn't know why they would have to approve it. No.
I would just put it on as information with 317 and
Okay.
just as information that it was reviewed and no changes.
Okay.
Then I think that the rest is the Belinda show.
Policy 614, payroll authorizations. Just a few small changes to the policy. First of all, some of these policies are really, instead of an attachment, bringing them forward into the main body of the policy profile. But 614 in general is just adding this section where it says top portion of delegation of responsibility, changing it to authority. And then of course, the actions that follow the authority. The daily sign in and sign out procedures are added only just in the event that we need to do that for when we're having meetings and so forth. Typically there will be maybe some sign in sheets that are necessary, not necessarily to track specific wages or requirements, but timesheets and so forth are do require signing. Delegation of responsibility down below is just changing where the placement of the by the superintendent is. In the first part, it says withheld by the superintendent. Well, the salary wages are not necessarily withheld by him, but he, of course, it's in accordance with policy by the superintendent as being the delegation. So it would be his, incorrect, sorry. I think Kathleen, you mentioned his or her designee down below. So that can obviously be added there. And then, of course, just changing where it says director of business, just to say it's business manager. I'm not sure if the Gettysburg area had a director of business services, but it would be business manager as a certification there. It's really the changes on 614, unless there's any other areas that I overlooked or I apologize, Kathleen, if I didn't cover anything on that particular policy that you had mentioned in your comments previously.
Oh, you did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other comments on 614? Okay, 615 payroll deductions. This is updating this policy, just basically saying that no deductions may be made from wages unless they're taxes. It outlines the taxes there, but then it also updates what the withholdings are. For example, we're only permitted to do tax shelter annuities as well as healthcare insurance as voluntary deductions. The Washington National Insurance is gone probably by the wayside. I do not know the exact date on that was gone, as well as dues are no longer able to be collected by the district on behalf of our employees. And then again, down at the bottom, the responsibility, taking out the director of business services to the reference business manager. Any questions on 615? 616, I don't believe there were any changes. This is just bringing it from an attachment into the main profile of the policy manual, as well as updating a review date. Policy 617, just one small change. At the top underneath purpose, some wording of language. Other than that, everything else remains the same, and just the last review date is what was changed. Any comments on 617? Okay. Policy 618, student activities. Again, this was an attachment, just bringing it forward. We still do have a administrative regulation on 618, which is the attachment underneath administrative regulations. But this is just being normally the attachment, adding into the main profile, updating the last review date too, to say that we're okay.
Hey, Belinda, my last year in the school system, they were really, the auditors, the state auditors were really focusing in on student activities, not against Gettysburg or anything like that, but evidently across the state, there was a lot of misuse of funds and so on in that regard. Are they still focusing on that, or is that they backed off of that? And looks like our policy is well in hand.
I think it depends upon what location you're at across the state. Tends to be an area that's reviewed annually by our auditor. And the only time state auditors will look at it is if and when there has been a comment made to the state auditors. We have not had any major issue concerns. We do have student activity guidelines that we also help share, and we have great folks in the high school help spearheading that whole tracking, monitoring, profiling each one of the accounts that we have.
Do the principals have a fair amount of discretion on that? Is there a check and balance system there with the business office, yourself or your assistant?
They do have sign-offs, yes, before they'll come over. We do process the checks over here on behalf of the department. So there are several, delegation of responsibilities. So there's no concern of segregation of duties in that aspect.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great question. Policy 619. I believe this is a new one. Jane, was this in red? This wasn't in red.
Yeah, this was a brand new one.
This was a new one. So
19.
we did not have a policy 619. And really what it is just outlines the purpose and the authority, the delegation and the guidelines in terms of our annual audit. And it just provides the citations. This was off of a reference of PNN, which is PSBA's profile of the policies, pretty much utilize their services in, not reinventing the wheel, but just basically outlining the purpose of having something associated with the district audit and the requirements thereof. It's pretty cut and dry. It's not anything, again, just taking right from PSBA's guidelines to using their policy on district audit. Policy 621, local taxpayer bill of rights. This was an attachment brought into the main profile with an updated last review date of April. So everything still complies there, and we still do follow many of those responsibilities. And the next two policies are very similar in nature with policy 622 and policy 625. Again, these were both attachments and we brought them over into the main profile of the policy page and to update the last review date of them. So I know Mr. Moyer had to leave, so I'm hoping to get this in plenty of time. Are there any questions on some of the policies that were provided?
Yes, hi, it's Kathleen again. Thank you, Belinda, for that information. I was curious about policy 317.1, so I went back in and just peeked at it. So as I look at 317.1, it seems only focused on sexual misconduct on behalf of faculty. So it seems like there really are pieces in this policy 317 that we're looking to retire that are not addressed in 317.1. 317.1 also is exclusive to teachers. So it kind of leads me to question where's this type of policy for non-teaching employees, but also the language that's in the 317 that we're looking to retire that's not in 317.1, do we have it somewhere?
Hey, Kathleen, it's Andrew. I do know that I'm helping on the committee that's reviewing these policies, and we have more policies that are forthcoming that aren't on the agenda yet, just because we're still in the review process with those. So as soon as we finish those up, they will make their way to the committee. But there's a series of policies regarding this that we're still working on.
Andrew, thank you. What I'd like to request is that all of those related policies are brought forward at the same time. And that way we can see the full picture of where we're protecting our employees and protecting our students as well. Is there any rush to do, to inactivate 317 now? I mean, can we wait? Can we pull that back and put it in the pool of related policies that will either be inactivated or modified?
No, I mean, there's never any harm in leaving a policy out there as long as something's no longer valid, but I'm not hearing that that's the case from the group that's working on these. Is that correct, Andrew?
Correct, yeah.
So, so 317 could be retired when the rest of those policies are done. That's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
With me just joining the policy committee recently, could you tell me if there is movement to moving the section 300, 400, 500 all into one at Gettysburg?
Belinda, my first year on the board and working with policy, I think I recommended that because we had done that at South Middleton at the advisement of PSBA. And that's all, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all personnel, support staff, professional staff, and administrative staff. Am I right? Is that the three different groups?
Yes.
Yeah, right now your 300 is administrative, your 400 is professional, 500 is classified. So I know that there was movement in serving other districts that it was to bring it to one 300 section and be done with it.
That might take a full inch off of Jane's board policy book.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. Just change the numbers, right? I finally found out where to look for all that stuff, Al. I think it's something that Mike and I could talk about this summer. It's something we can look at, doing as part of the committee next year. Right now they're separated, and that wasn't. We were pretty focused on updating some of those really old policies.
Yeah, right.
So it just hasn't been the top priority, to answer your question, Belinda.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
just curious because some districts would rather leave it as is, whereas PSBA makes the recommendation to do that. I was just questioning.
Yep.
So thank you.
No problem. So everything to recap, everything that was on this agenda, Jane, except for the retiring of 317 would be on the board agenda for Monday. The 800 policy is just an informational item, and the rest are first reads.
Yep.
I don't have anything else. Anything else, Mike?
No, I don't have anything else. Belinda, thank you for going through those and explaining the changes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, it was nice and short, everybody. Thanks.
All right,
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Is that Sean's real video? Sean, is that really you, or is that some illustration?
There he
I'm-
is.
I'm trying to be a responsible driver, so
Oh, very good.
but I've been listening in. So
You're a lot better looking in person, Sean, just for the
thanks, Al.
have
I
a
wanna
good one.